Maya, aka Icebox, aka Minister of Fitness.
Woo!
Welcome to Bodyrox. I am the CEO of this place, and like I say, your fitness is my business. This is where we do all we do, from fighting to fitness to you name it, we do it. But this is our place. This is who I am. All right,
Gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times.
On the fence. I'm on the fence.
We don't need to talk about
Left hook from Yaoundé came and landed on him, you know, so.
Yes. Good afternoon, good evening. Hello, world. We are back at the King's Court with the episode 6 of the King's Court Meets. We are here with 2 guests, one very special guest, not you. I'm only joking, but we're here with Icebox Okunnu. Thank you for joining us today. You are the founder, the owner of Bodyrox, a fitness studio, a gym in Abuja, Nigeria. You're a coach in MMA. You've been big in the MMA scene, both in the UK and in Nigeria. You're the Minister of Fitness.
he knows.
and your fitness is his business.
It's my business. I love it.
Thanks. So how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me once again. I've been watching your work. I'm just happy to be on the show. You know, it's good stuff.
Brilliant. No, I appreciate it. And then I brought along Tom as well here to help in this chat, this interview today. Obviously, yourself and Tom go way back. So.
Way back. Whole time. Oh man, my G. Shit.
So.
Can I swear on this thing? I just said shit.
Do you, my guy?
Because I sent you through bombs out a bit.
It's all good, but yeah. So I brought him to help really extract some of these experiences and the history really, and we can talk today. So really, just wanted to talk about everything that you're doing at the moment in time. Really, just introduce yourself and just give the people a lowdown on what you're up to.
All right. So first of all, you've already done a pretty good introduction of myself. I think you did a better one than I would. For myself, I tend to find it hard to do that because there's so many segments to what I've been doing and to what I do. But yeah, I'll start from the top. So I am the CEO of Bodyrox Fitness Studios, and you know, fitness was a lot of people think that's what I started with, but Tom would know that came from the fighting came first, and then the fitness kind of just tagged along afterwards. And I delved into that, but they go hand in hand, you know. So preparing myself conditioning wise and, you know, strength wise, and just developing my body to be ready for, you know, the fight scenes and for the different fights I was having, going from amateur to semi-pro to pro. The fitness just kind of tagged along.
Yeah.
And even so, it's just funny at the times that we're in. So when we're in the UK, the MMA scene was still pretty raw in the UK. It was getting there, but nowhere in the same place that the US was. So it usually couldn't be the only thing you were doing. You kind of had to have another a real job, or let me say a main job, and then you do the fighting as well on the side. So, and then coming to Nigeria, it was even further back, you know. But I was excited, So I was excited by that challenge, you know, of coming here. Getting a chance to really like coach guys and take guys from like grassroots level, like all the way to like a international professional standard. And there's no way you can do that without this guy ending up feeling like children to you. That makes you sound really old, but but you know what I mean. Yeah, but like so that's the same thing. So I had to use the same dynamic of making the fitness the forefront. That's the thing that people see as the driver, and then the fighting is like the passenger until he gets his chance to, you know, to shine and to blossom. And then we're in the most interesting of times because I've been making noise about this thing since like 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
And I came back to Nigeria 2014. And just before I came back, I remember asking somebody, like, oh, have you heard about like MMA? And the person was like, it's like Hulk Hogan. Yo, this is gonna be a tough battle. This is like, if you don't know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I came back and people got intrigued by it, by what I did. You know, I'll tell them, they're like, oh, but you see like pictures on Facebook when Facebook was the thing, you know. And they would see pictures and they'd be like, oh my god, I can't believe you actually used to fight. But they see my ear like cauliflower, and like, oh, this is real, like this guy, like, and so that would spark the interest. And I always knew that there would be so much raw talent here in Nigeria, way before, you know, the rest of the world got to know. I knew it because it's just like we're gifted people, Nigerians, you know. Well, I think that's part of our problem. We're kind of too blessed. We have great weather, great natural resources, human capital, super athletic talent, crazy brains, like whatever you want to name, we have it, you know. So anyway, I came back and I was like, how do I turn this into something like beneficial to the world? And I had to use fitness as a driver and then like make the fighting tag along, and then perfect timing. Actually, people like to think of the boom starting from like the boom of awareness of MMA, starting from like Kamaru Usman becoming champion or Israel. But I actually say it's from when Conor McGregor and Floyd fought, because that introduced the entire boxing community to MMA. Because they're like, who's this guy? Like, where's he come from? And I said, the moment all these eyes ended up on MMA, not long after that, Kamaru came in, you know, became champion. Israel became champion. Francis Ngannou became champion. And we had those three African kings. And all of a sudden, people were like, oh, this thing is a thing. And this guy over here has been shining about it forever. And some people, like, even right here in my city, are like, oh, you do fight shows here? Like, we've been doing this since 2018. Like, where have you been? Like, but it's like that. It's easy to, if you're not about something, it's easy to not know it's happening. Like, if you're not a vegetarian or vegan, you won't even know that there are vegan options or vegetarian restaurants in the city because it's not your thing. So, I mean, I couldn't get mad at people not knowing, but it was interesting to have that conversion happening because I had a lot of people that would come for the shows just to support me, or maybe just support the gym, because we started doing them in the actual studio, like the fight shows in Bodyrox. So we have a lot of clients that are just like, fighting is not my thing, but you know, I'll come through to support you guys. And then they come and then, wow, you can see them, they're screaming the most, they're standing up, they're taking pictures, they're asking the fighters for like the Instagram handles. The fighters don't even have Instagram handles. And so anyway, so the madness got born from that moment. And like since then, it's just been snowballing. And that's where we are now. The snowball effect.
That's madness. And then now obviously, because you started in the fitness, well, you had to start in the fitness game sort of thing. So now you have fitness shows, you do CrossFit, you do obviously MMA, jiu-jitsu, you have your high intensity training, etc. So all encompassed within Bodyrox Studios.
Yeah, so it's a full hybrid space. And if you watch the evolution of it, like when I opened up officially in 2015, January, I had a really small space, like 141 square meters. Those people in the engineering field, or you guys will know what that's like. So it was a little space. It was okay. It was good enough. But I pretty much just had like open space, a little bit of equipment around it. And myself and all the people who work for me, we all had the same scars on our shoulders. And that's from doing grappling on carpet. So the carpet burns. We all had exactly like the same. So if you want to know about this guy, you just look at his scars. Because we didn't have any mats. We didn't have anything. We just mess about on the floor, you know, and then get these burns. Then in 2017, we moved within the same space to a much bigger space, and that was this was still there now, 480 square meters, so almost times 5 of what we had before. But people were still not ready. Sorry, I'm gonna cough.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good now. So people were still not ready for MMA at the time. Boxing was still what people knew. So I ended up building a boxing ring. That's the thing about being in Nigeria as well. It forced you to be creative, because I looking at the cost of like importing a boxing ring from the UK or the US, and I was like, man, it was giving me crazy prices. I was like, what if I just find how to build one? So I just went on YouTube and I found like a video showing how the whole thing came together. I saved the video, sent it to my guy who had been doing some metal work for me. Like, can you build this thing for me? It was like, he's never built one before, but he's excited at the challenge. And then he did it. So I built this boxing ring, and that's how I was able to introduce. That was the first real introduction, like visually, to everybody else, because we're in the mall, so our space is all glass. So from outside you can see inside. Yeah. And I did that. I like that on purpose. I put it in a place where you're coming up and you're like, is that a boxing ring in there? Because that was definitely easier for people to know than an octagon. I put in fact, because I have an octagon now. And when it was getting built, even when I put it in, people think it's a trampoline.
I see.
You see some people like come with their kids like, like can I put my kids in the, like, it's not a trampoline. It's really not. So there's still a lot of people that don't know what it is. But the boxing ring is universal. Like, everybody knows what the boxing ring is. Even if you're not a boxing fan, even a WWE fan, because it's in the ring. So I built that as a strategic thing. I was like, do a ring, even though boxing is not your thing, but do a ring. That is what people will recognize. Put it in a glass building, in a glass space, so everybody can see from outside. And that's how we started visually imprinting that we do this thing. And if you keep watching from that point on, the amount of space in the studio that is allocated for the fight stuff has been increasing ever since. So started from just the ring, then we now had this array, like we put these monkey bars or put these bags on it. Then we got the jiu-jitsu mats, the tatamis. Then we now like doubled the tatami mats, took up the entire backspace. Now we have a ring, octagon, tatami mats. Like, it's just been, so now half the studio is fight stuff. And that's where we are now. So there's possibly going to be a time not so far away where there will just be an entire Bodyrox just for fight stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Maybe just a little bit of conditioning stuff on the side, but predominantly the entire space would be dedicated to that. So that's where we're going. But where we are now is we have all three bits, like the jiu-jitsu mats, the ring, and the octagon, all in the space, half and half. Yeah, so that's where we are.
Beautiful. The journey. That journey is real. That journey is real.
I know, right?
I love it. So again, talk about the journey. Let's go back a bit then to your time also when you were in the UK, and how did you even get into mixed martial arts? That scene. Where did it start?
This guy is very, very much in there. So obviously, I don't know if you know how we met. So we met in the Murray Library. First year, obviously, first week or so, or second week, and then I noticed his shoes. He had K-Swisses on. Remember K-Swisses? Yeah. I was like, yo, this guy must be cool because he got K-Swisses on. So we start talking, and that was it. The rest of it was history, man. Like, you wouldn't see him without seeing me. You wouldn't see me without seeing him. And actually, funny, Tom was actually the one more into the whole gym thing than I was. Yeah, I think you already registered in the uni gym. And then you'd heard about this guy, Les, who had also gone to our uni before and finished. So it was our senior. But it was just stories. We heard things about it. We heard that, he's a cage fighter. In my head, the whole thing was illegal. It's like, cage fighting, really?
This is the northeast of England. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like cage fighting, like, wow. And and he was, he was really ranked highly, and he drove a Range Rover then. And then, funny enough, Tom and I were trying to cross the road one time, and then he zooms past in his Range Rover, and he's like, "That's the guy." And I was just jealous straight away, like, "What is this? Why does he look so good? His Range Rover, and he's fine. Like, come on!" Like, and then he told us they're poor students, trying to cross the road. Like, and that was it. Then I got a job. I got a job at one of the popular nightclubs in Sunderland, and which he happened to work at as well. Well, I mean, our conversations were very minimal. It was a guy at the door, I was a guy at the bar, and I didn't even really like him because I heard some girl that asked me where I was from. I said I was Nigerian. She said she knew the Prince of Nigeria. I'm like, "Who's that?" And she was like, "Yes." I was like, "What a dick! Why is he lying to people?" So I already didn't like him. And then,
this is true.
And then
story,
I met this.
True story. This is coming to
Yeah,
America.
for real. Like, he knows. So we now had this DJ Simon, and Simon went to uni with Les, and Simon also knew I was from Nigeria, and he was like, "Oh, I make Nigerian stew and plantain," and I was like, "Oh, Simon is white for everybody
Okay,
white
for everybody
British.
who is listening." Yeah, Simon is he not even blonde? He's blonde with blue eyes, and he's talking about like Nigerian stew. I was like, "What do you know about Nigeria?" He's like, "No, come over to my house. I'll make you some of this stuff." So his place wasn't even far from ours, where Tom and I stayed. So we took a walk up there, and then Les happened to be in his house. And that was the first time I got to really like converse with him. I'm like, "Oh, this guy's actually pretty cool." Obviously, because we're Nigerian, we had even a better rapport than I had with Simon.
Yeah.
And that was it. Same thing. Rest was history. We started hanging out, and then I decided not to travel. I never went back home one summer. And then Les just asked me like, "Oh, what do you do when you're not working?" Like, I just probably watch 24. They're like, "Oh, but you're the uni boxing club," which was just exercise. You remember that? Tom and I would go to the uni boxing club. We would just punch the bags. We no sparring, no nothing. I mean, our gloves were those crappy mid gloves, those bag mitts. So he was like, "Oh, why don't you come with me to the gym?" And I'm thinking it's a normal gym. So I get there. He's like, "Oh, well, bring your gloves." So I get there and I see this place, and he has this octagon in the center, and he has bags all around. And so I go put my gloves and I'm on the bags. But I swear to you, that session, I did nothing because I was just staring at them because they were just in the cage, and they were like wrestling and grappling each other. And like, I was like, what is this thing? Like, I'd never seen it in real life. And I was like, this is incredible. So, like I said, I didn't do anything that session. I just was in awe. So when we're leaving out, because Les was doing driving, so I was passenger side. Like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" He's like, "Oh, we're grappling." I said, "Oh, can you teach me some stuff?" Like, you're like, "Oh, you want to learn?" I was like, "Yeah, man." So like, "Okay, cool. Tomorrow then, you game?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm game." So I show up the next day, and he hands me over to some of the guys that help him get ready for his fights. And I had a little session with them, and they're teaching me like basics. And I heard something that I'd never heard in my entire life before, because as you might know or you might not know, I wasn't an athletic child. Like, I didn't play sports in school. I was absolutely shit running. They used to make me run with the girls. The girls would still beat me. Like, that was my life. So after the session, they came and they said to Les in front of me, "This guy's really good. This guy has a lot of potential." And I'm like,
Okay.
nobody has ever said I'm pretty good at anything like physical before, And that was it. I mean, I'm locked in, and I'm just how much was I making from the club? But I was spending all of it, like pay for the gym fees, like the training session. I remember I think it was like £3 to get in, £1.50 for protein shake. Then we would now go to Tonic where we worked and we get half price of the food and pay like maybe £3.75. But like every day I was spending like £10. something like it. But I was in and I didn't care. I like, I'm loving it. I was walking different. I think when Tom came back, you were like, yo,
I went away for summer holidays.
Yeah.
And I came back and he was into MMA massively.
He
was like, Tom, you have to come and check this out. We have to come and train. Like, trust me, absolute transformation in terms of
the club R&B night. And I just, the way I was moving in, I felt different. It's the way you feel when you can whoop somebody's ass, you know. Or like, somebody come test me today. Let me see. So it was that was an intoxicating feeling. I've never felt that before in my entire life. Feeling physically, you know, elevated to like a top percentile where I felt like, yeah, there's nobody that I wouldn't give a good go. Like I would at least, you know, probably try to choke you out or armbar you something. And that feeling is, you cannot describe it to anybody. You literally just have to be about it before you can understand it. So that was it. But my personality, I'm that guy. I've always been this way. So like, even in the classroom, a normal school classroom, they say if they ask, depends on how the question is asked. If the teacher says, can someone tell me can someone mention 5 countries in Africa? I know the answer, but I won't put my hand up because of the way the question was framed. But if the teacher said, hey, Icebox, tell me 5 countries in Africa, I'll read it out for you. Yeah. So there was loads of times when we're going to Palion, that's where the university boxing club was, where they would, after the session, they would, you know, ask if anybody wanted to come in and spar. And I really wanted to, but I just needed them to ask me directly, like, hey, come in. Because there's something that, how my brain interprets that is, if you ask me to, you must believe that I can.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a validation for me, you know. So, and that's how I grew up. I grew up with that. Like, I kind of needed to validate that you believe I can do it before I would, you know, go ahead and do it. But if you just leave it open, that means I have to validate myself and all those things. Like, so I just won't. Yeah. So Les asked me the way that gets me. He said, I'm doing a fight show, my fight show, and I want you to fight. If he said, oh, I'm doing a fight show, who wants to fight? I probably would have never said yes. So he asked me, and I just thought, my God, he must think I'm good enough to do this thing. And I'm, you know, damn right. But in my head, I was like, I'm going to have one fight in the future. I'll tell my kids, Daddy had one fight back in the day. He murked some guys. And that's what I was planning to. One fight, that was it.
Yeah.
Then I had my amateur fight against Sky Ryan Chalaji. And yo, we went at it. I mean, Tom was screaming. Like it was crazy. That the venue was a 700 capacity venue. I had sold over 200 of those seats myself because I had uni mates. I had mates from the club. I had mates from the gym. So I had quite a big number of I could have even sold more, but Les and I had mutual friends, so some of them didn't like. Some of them he sold to, but I sold like 200 tickets. I remember 200 tickets for that fight. So the place. So even though it was my first fight, my debut, it was an amateur fight. They moved us to like the middle of the card. Remember, we're in the middle of the card. We're not normally that kind of fight. You'll be the first fight.
Impossible.
So my first fight ever, I was fight number like 5 out of like 7 fights. Yeah. So there was I guess there was pressure. I remember the song I came out to. You know, I remember Tom in the back with me. I remember talking to him before the fight.
What song was it?
Not Saint Lunatics. What this guy's called? PDD and Saint Lunatics, isn't it? I'll play it again. I know it in my head. I can't remember the name, but I remember coming out like hyped, like yo, we're here, and then I was so gassed. I couldn't understand why I was so gassed. Like it was like I learned so much from that first fight. It was great. It ended up being a draw, and I'm glad that's what I had, because if I had won, like outright, I'd have probably not taken as much in for the next fight and probably lost the next fight. But I got humbled a little bit because I was so sure that I was so strong. Like, I was just gonna pick him up and rip him in half and up. It doesn't work that way. And then there's something about managing your energy as well. I had to learn that because I was doing like 10 rounds in training. Then I couldn't even do 2 rounds. Like after 1 round, I was so gassed. Like my head was just down. I even till today, I still hate watching that fight because I was just like a zombie. Like, oh, I'm so tired. But but I learned a lot from there. Then my second fight was almost like the exact opposite. I only sold 25 tickets, and I fought in South Shields, so not in my exact hood, Part of me, like, I guess I was doing that like quietly. And I had Ross Pearson, the winner of season 9 Ultimate Fighter, in my corner. I had Les in my corner. Tom, were you in my corner for that fight as well?
I think I might have been in your corner for that.
I think you were in my corner as well for that. But it was really quiet. I came out to a chill song. I didn't go insane. I learned a lot. And then I put the smack down on this guy. Wow. And then that's where the savagery started. Like, he just kept on boom, 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 going from
your
there.
signature move.
Yeah, pick you up.
Pick you up and slap.
Slam you down.
Take you to the other, to your side.
I'll walk you around the whole place and smack you down. Yeah, man. So that was good. Amateur, the semi-pro. I went through undefeated, semi-pro, and then I hit pro, and then I changed camps, so I was no longer training with Les. I met this older guy, my Sifu, Coach Ian, and his style was Les's style of coaching is tough love, like just be as tough as you possibly can, and I'm so grateful for that. But as I was evolving, going amateur, semi-pro, pro, and based on the personality that I have, I need a little bit more depth than just toughness. So it was good timing meeting this Coach Ian, because there were things that I would think about, but I didn't really feel like I was in the right environment to say them. But to him, because like I started doing yoga, and I was doing that before. Now it's like popular, everybody does like a little bit yoga. Then you get made fun of for doing yoga. So I was doing it in secret. I was going all the way to Palian on a Sunday to go do yoga, like so that the boys wouldn't know. But I told him. But I told him. I told my coach, and then he showed me like videos of Arnie in ballet class, and they were teaching them how to posing, to be poised, and they had tutus on. Like, he put this jacked Arnold Schwarzenegger in a tutu. So like, don't be ashamed. Like, a lot of the time when you want to elevate yourself to these higher places, you have to do things a little bit different from what everybody else is doing. Because I knew that my flexibility was shit. So I needed that to be better. So I was going all the way to Palian on a Sunday in secret to do it. And when they found out, they still like, oh, I'm sure you fancy the instructor or some girl there. That's why you're doing it. I was like, no, man, it's actually for me, like, because I want to do rubber guard and I can't do it right now. So I'm trying to work on that. So anyway, but this Coach Ian was really open to all these things that I would mention without judgment. And he was like, yep, it makes sense. Let's lean into that more. And he now started asking me, like, have you been for this? You should increase your sessions to 2 a week, stuff like that. And like I said, he was a bit more of a softer, like I don't want to say soft like as if he wasn't tough physically, but like softer in terms of what I could say to him, because I also had my first and only loss while under his tutelage. And that was a crazy one. Tom was right there, man. And Tom was such a big part of making me feel better, because he was the first face I saw when I kind of like, because everything was foggy. Because I was winning the first round. Okay, let me even start from the beginning. I was meant to have a fight on another show. So I only had my pro debut, so I was meant to have my second pro fight. I was supposed to fight somebody. That person pulled out. Another promoter heard that I didn't have a fight, So he called me like, "Oh, I have a title fight on my show for you." And I was like, "Oh, who's the guy?" Like Carl Fawcett. I'm like, "Man, I've seen Carl. Carl is like a beast." But in my head, I'm always like, the gods might be doing this for me, because like it's insane to fight for a title as your second pro fight. But what if I win? I'll literally be the first person to have done that. Like I had my pro debut, then I won a title, and like, so I spoke to my coach. My coach was like, "You believe you can have?" I was like, "Yeah, I think I can." Like, "Do you believe that?" I was like, "Yeah, I believe I can. I can beat him." So I took the fight. So the first round, I'm like, and this is the first time I'm fighting somebody my height. Don't remember, I used to fight. Everybody else to fight was always so much taller than I was. Always taller than I was. But it makes it sweet and easy to pick them up. So the first time I fight somebody my height, and I was surprised because everybody just knows me as a grappler. That was the first time I came in like with kicks, and I was kicking this guy a lot. He wasn't ready for that. The second round came, and I don't know whether it was because I was gassed or it says 5 minutes left in the meeting.
So good.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know if I was gassed or just the fact that I used to finish most of my fights in the first round. So I either finish the fight in the first round or I'll go the distance. So in my head, there was no in between. So I either completely take you out or I just, power through.
Yeah.
So anyway, second round came and I tried to pick him up. And this shorter guy is difficult to pick up. So I pick him up and he wraps my head like with a guillotine. So normally, like Tom was saying, I walk you round and I take you to my corner and slam you down there. When he wrapped my head in the guillotine, I was like, oh. So I went back to where I was to kind of peel him off. And in peeling him off, I kind of overcompensated or something. And I got under him and he just went, bah, 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 bah. And that's all I remember. I just remember opening my eyes. I told him, like, "Get up, man. You're a champion. Get up." And I was like, "What's happening?" And I just saw the guy celebrating. I'm like, "Wait, I finally lost it." It was crazy. But that was, like I said, my first and only loss. The after party of that night was the best after party for any of my fights I ever had. For the first time, I really believed that the people that were coming to support me really gave a shit about me, and it was just it was really good. I was in such high spirits. I couldn't believe how high my spirits was. And my coach Ian, has said to me, he hugged me in the back and told me he was proud of me and everything. And that was my first fight that I dedicated to more than myself. I remember Sharon Robson dedicated to her mom, a girl, Gemma York, who had been a ring girl for me. She died of cancer. So I dedicated to Sharon Robson's mom, Gemma York. I feel like there's a third person. Can't remember, maybe just those two. But that was the first time I was doing something like that. So I was gutted that I didn't win for them, but I was proud of myself for putting myself on the line like that for that kind of cause. And it was a good one. And I think if I didn't have that kind of support system, that might have probably been my last fight. And I'd have probably said, yeah, I started this thing as let me do one. So it's about time to call it quits. But after that loss, I feel like I finally shed the demon that always made me afraid of losing. Because I would always fight safe. By safe, I mean everybody knew me as a grappler. My grappling was definitely better than my striking, but I was working hard on my striking, and I was actually getting good. And I would be good in training because I felt safe and comfortable in training. And you can't lose in training. It's just But when it got to the fight, even when I started up, with strikes, I would just take like one hit. Nope, take him down, go back to my comfort zone. But yeah, so then I was no longer afraid. I lost. I was like, okay, I've lost now. It's no big deal. I'm still here. And I'm ready to go. And every fight I had after my loss, I put the person in the hospital. I fought Klaus Berkman from Norway or Sweden, I can't remember. I mashed him up so hard. Second round, he couldn't continue because he was blind for 3 days. He couldn't even fly back to his country until his eyesight came back. Then and I was a stiff left, and I found my southpaw. There's even a picture on Facebook that Tom commented on, like, "Yo, you seriously look at your face before your fight now. Like, you look like you're loving it." Because I now started like smiling like a psycho, like, okay, let's go. So I fought Klaus Berkman. Then I fought Craig Doherty. Craig Doherty was a former Commonwealth boxing champion. I remember me and my coach sitting down watching his tapes. We saw that he had a lot of scar tissue on his forehead. So the game plan was from the beginning, was like open him up. So first round, I bust him open, and I fought him in his hometown in Glasgow. I bust him open. He was bleeding everywhere. And if that fight was anywhere other than Glasgow, they would have stopped it. But they're insane in Glasgow. And they're screaming, fight, 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 fight. I was like, this fight's supposed to be over. Then we end up fighting for the rest of the 3 rounds. My white shorts are drenched in blood. They used like 3 towels to wipe blood off me. None of the blood is mine. Like they in Scotland, they're insane. They love it. Like, give us more blood. The more blood, the better. Like savage mode. But that was my best display of my striking. Then I fought and I was winning. And I remember that fight, Craig Doherty and Klaus Berkman. They were like within the space of 5 weeks, I had those 2 fights. Then I sat down in my team and I was like, every single person in my team is in the top 20 in their respective weight classes. I'm the only person who is not ranked. I was like, my next mission is to be ranked. So I put it out there to the universe, put it out to my coach. Pretty sure I told Tom as well. Like, I just want to be ranked. I just want to. So in my head, I was like, I would like to get like 10, someone from number 11 to 20. So the same promoter that called me for my championship that I lost, he now has a different show now. It's a bigger show made for the cage, It's getting there. Remember Dale? Yeah. So Dale calls me up. It's like, right, I heard you want to, fight a ranked fighter. I have somebody, Alan Philpott. When he says Alan Philpott, I just start laughing because, first of all, I'm a fan of this kid because he's savage. Yeah. He's actually in New Zealand now. He's moved to New Zealand, but doesn't train with Easy. He trains another team. So I'm not just a fan of his. He is the guy who beat the guy that beat me.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Okay. So I had quite a lot of reasons to not take that fight.
Yeah.
Or to just be like, and I'm like, isn't he like number 9? You're like, no. The promoter always just wants the fight to happen.
100%.
The promoter like, no, he's like number 15 or whatever. It's not 15, it was 9. Anyway, I said, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. So I tell my coach, and I'm already apprehensive because I spoke to my teammates before I saw my coach. And I said to my teammates, they're like, oh, I've just taken a fight. And they're like, oh, yeah? Who are you fighting? And I said, Alan Philpott. And you see the way their faces drop, they're like...
so you're the organizers without speaking to the coaches, you can tell the coaches later.
Yeah. I'm like, on what planet do you think that's a good fight for you? They didn't say that, but their faces said everything. Yeah. I was already feeling a little bit discouraged. So when I said to my coach, I was expecting my coach kind of berate me a little bit as well and be like, oh, why did you accept the fight? He didn't talk to me. And I was like, show me his tapes. So I first showed him the fight where he destroyed the guy I fought. And I was like, yeah, you can beat this guy. I was like, you think so, right? He's like, yeah, you can beat this guy. Like, he said, how old is he? Because it seems like he's young. I said, yeah, he's young. He's like, yeah, you can beat this guy. So I'm like, at that point, like, you need to tell me how we're going to beat him. So he pointed out that he gets very frustrated easily when the fight's not going his way, or when he's trying to storm you and you kind of weather the storm or you don't move back. He said, and you don't have a problem. You never move back. And that's one thing I always had. I don't go back. Like, you can come at me. Most likely I'm coming at you, But even if you come at me, I'm not going back. Like we're gonna clash or whatever. So like you don't go back. So this guy is definitely gonna be frustrated with you. He definitely favors the striking over the wrestling. But you're not gonna make him think you're gonna like strike with him. You're gonna make him think you're gonna strike with him, then you won't. And when he thinks you want to wrestle, then you strike. That's frustrating. So that was the game plan. Frustrating. But he was really good with doing these left kicks. So my coach was like, "You have a very till today, I have a very lazy right hand. So like it just doesn't stay up. I just keep it always down. Like you have to keep this right hand up against this guy because he launches that left kick like from nowhere."
Right.
So in the changing rooms, literally before the fight, I'm like, I trained hard. I went to Scotland for like 3 weeks, came back, like I was, and everybody was just doing the same old thing. When they find out who I'm fighting, I'm like, even when we had the interviews, he didn't even rate me. Like he barely knew who I was. I think he just knew who I was because I was black. And there's not many black fighters then.
Yeah.
And he was still talking. He was talking during his interview. He was talking about after party and how many girls there are in Newcastle. And I'm there kissing ass. I'm like, yo, I'm a big fan of Alan. So anyway, just before I come out for the fight, coach, so many of those sessions, the coach had taped my right hand to my head. Like this is
no way.
Before it came out. Yeah, before it came out, like, what are you gonna do? I was like, I'm gonna keep my right hand up. As soon as it come out for the fight, what do? I put the right hand down. He kicks me right in the head. Boom. It's like, yeah. And like I see stars for a little bit, and I'm almost falling, and everybody like, that's the first strike of the match. The first hit, the first contact is that kick to the head. Then I kind of dive into him.
Yeah.
Then I regain myself in that clear. That's the thing. That's my power. Once I grab you, I'm gonna take you for a trip. So I grab him and I kind of regain myself, but I'm like, I'm not carrying him anywhere. But I'm actually kind of close to my corner, so I scoop him out. I try to get on top of him. He kicks me away. I come right back in. I grab him. I try to do some ground and pound. He's feeling really slippery. I'm like, this guy's gonna get away from this bottom position. So I just grab the hand for the Kimura. And my coach is right there talking in his ear like he always does, telling him, you're going to lose this, you're going to lose. And I grab the Kimura, and then I just take a risk of like, for me to get this Kimura on properly, I have to go on my own back. And like, but if I miss this Kimura, this guy is going to ground and pound my life to like mince meat.
Yeah.
I grab it, I fall on my back, and I rip that Kimura on. And I win that fight in 70 seconds. 1 minute, 10 seconds.
No way.
That's how I go rank number 9 in the UK. And that's my last fight. Yeah, and that's the story of my career from the beginning to the end.
And what weight class was this?
Bantamweight. So I started off as featherweight, amateur semi-pro as featherweight. When I went pro, my pro debut was also a featherweight because my opponent couldn't make bantam, Nathan Thompson. So I fought him at featherweight. He was probably like 72 on the day. Because I never used to like diet like that. I was always kind of close to fight weight. But when I went to Scotland, those guys taught me otherwise. They're like, yo, you need to, because they were massive. Everybody in Scotland, that in Dinky Ninja's team is huge. So you shake this guy's hand. I'm like, yo, you must be middleweight. He's like, no, I'm a featherweight. How? How are you a featherweight? So yeah, they're very scientific with their weight gain, weight loss, replenishment, refueling. They taught me everything I know about doing that right. They're really, really good. So yeah, man. That's it.
That's it. They could make that into a movie, you know. I'm telling you.
Don't give it away, man. That's what I'm doing. We're working on it. Nollywood, Netflix coming up.
Come on, we'll get the details. No, that's brilliant. Yeah. And we know the Northeast. There's a lot of talent, a lot of MMA talent that originated from the Northeast, and I think it was part of the UK's sort of inception into MMA where it is now. You mentioned names like Ross Pearson as well. Was there any other fighters that are probably more known now sort of thing that you brush shoulders with and new and stuff?
In the UFC specifically, or just around?
In the MMA scene, yeah.
Oh, okay. So Ryan, oh shit, what's his last name again?
Scope.
Ryan Scope. You remember Ryan Scope, Playboy? He got into Bellator. Colin Fletcher, he made it to UFC, but then he moved to Bellator. I think he got dropped. Then David Grant is still in the UFC. I almost fought David Grant, but we became teammates. And David Grant was the owner of the gym where Carl Forster, who beat me, he used to train in David Grant's gym. And David Grant's doing really well. So David Grant, I know Alex Inland doesn't fight anymore. He had I think they found like some potential aneurysm in his head, so he just coaches now. But he's bringing out some hot boys like on the scene. Joanne Calderwood, they used to bring, because I was a smaller weight class, they used to bring me in to help train, like spar with them. So I helped spar with Rosie Sexton. She's not really a big name in the UFC anymore, but she's one of the female pioneers, especially for British female MMA. So I trained with Rosie Sexton. I used to train with Joanne Calderwood every time I was in Glasgow to help her prepare for her fights. She's doing well now. She got married to another fighter, and he's a coach. There's tons more. I just can't.
Phil DeFries.
Phil DeFries. I don't know where Phil is now, but he was in the UFC at one point. Yo, man, there's been tons of guys, and there's people that I connected with after I got here. So there's a guy called Bola Omoleye. He was in Ultimate Fighter as well, but I think he only ever had one UFC fight. I think he had some health issues. He had to come out. So he also just coaches. But him being Nigerian, and he's best friends with Jimmy Manua, who was like poster boy. Yeah, Jimmy Manua got to the top echelon of light heavyweight. They're really good friends, but I connected with them after I came back to Nigeria. So not during my UK time. And they're trying to do stuff here together. Every time Bola comes to Nigeria, I try to meet up with him. Me and him are really cool now, really good. But this just all of that. Also, I mentioned about Dan Hardy. We were at his fight in Doncaster when he got the call. He had to win that fight to get the contract. And I don't think he knew, but his coach was like, "Oh, Dana White's on the phone. Got your contract," like crazy. So we met him. Even Connor had before when they were just making some noise about him. So there's a guy, Liam James, who was in our team. Liam James will go to SBG in Ireland to train with Connor. So Liam had a fight back in I can't remember if it was Newcastle or Gateshead or Sunderland. Yeah. And then Connor came with him to corner him. And I was around. So I possibly went past him, shook his hand or something. Yeah. And now look at it. Lamborghini yacht and all that. Yeah, man. It's just crazy to think of that. It was just something we were doing like while I was in uni, and think of where we are now. Yeah. And even when last time I met you, like I've never known that you would end up in like MMA media and like it was so crazy. Like life is crazy and it's fun. It's like a beautiful TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
Indeed. And hey, it was through Tom that I actually got into MMA. So it's all linked. It's all interlinked. Yeah, I used to hate it. When he used to come back from the summer, he used to be like, "Oh, okay, get me a rear naked choke, triangle." I'm like, "Get off me, man." It's all linked.
Crazy. I love it. No. And even like Ross, I still get in touch with Ross very so often. Like recently, I was trying to get in touch with Dan Hardy, and I couldn't. So I got in touch with Ross. Was like, sure thing, I'll speak to him, because I was trying to. So when I heard that PFL had done like a PFL Europe and made him head of
All right, gentlemen, we know the
operations.
rules. Protect yourself at all times. On the fence. I'm on the fence.
We don't need to talk about
Left hook from Yaoundé came and landed on him, you know, so